Boker or Masechet Bava Kamma Daf Aleph Amud Aleph. We're on the two dots, which is going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 lines down. Ibailehu. Okay, 12 lines down. Ibailehu. Tzadik Aleph 91. Ibailehu. We're going to ask the following question: Yesh omed lenezikin or en omed lenezikin? Do we do evaluations for nezikin? Right? That means does betin come and they're not going to be mechayev tashum nezek only after checking everything? If it's behemet, ra'ui for such a hezek, or we don't need to do such a thing. And as long as somebody comes and he damages, that's it. We're going to come and we're going. Do we have to do evaluations or not? Mi amrinan, do we say lektala hu de amdinan only by life and death? Right? Do we do such a thing? Because by coming and hitting something, the neshama is going to come out, which means a person could die. So behachi, but in this, when you're going to hit an object, no neshama is coming out. So therefore, maybe you don't have to do any evaluations. Aval nizikin koldehu, right? But nizikin, there's no need necessary. Why? Because on anything, you're going to be chayav l'shalem nezek. You're going to be chayav to pay all the damages. Or dima, or maybe lo shna, there's no difference. So tashema, we're going to try to bring a proof. Ma bor sheyesh bo kedei le'amit asarat tfachim. You remember that a bor, in order for a pit to kill, you need minimum of 10 tfachim. 80, how much? 80 centimeters. Very good. Yeah. So he says, af kol, so too, sheyesh bo kedei le'amit, has to be anything that in order to die, it has to have 10 tfachim. Right? Hayu pechutim asar tfachim. What happens if it's less than 10 tfachim? And nafala tucho shorach hamor umet. And a shorach hamor falls inside of it, and he dies. So what happens? So he comes and he says, he's going to be patur. Huzakbo, but if he's going to be damaged, he's going to be chayav. But remember, the 10 amot is only for death, but not for damages. Meaning, even if it's going to be 5 tfachim, right? Even if it's going to be 5 tfachim, it could be damaged. But death could only be caused usually by the 10 tfachim. Okay? So, my love, mimata lemala kachashi, but we're not talking about from the down to above. Right? V'afki kama, that's what it say. From a tefach until 10 tfachim, right? Yeah, exactly. It's around the table. The table is around 80 centimeters. Mita leka, nezikinika. There's no death, but there is nezikin. Almas, you see from here, the nezikin kol dehu, right? And nezikin, anything. Even for 1 tefach. Nezikin for damages, it could be even on tefach. Sometimes you could just trip on a little tiny, thing on the road, and that's a nezek. Shemamina umdil nezikin. So it comes out that we are going to come and we're going to evaluate for nezikin, okay? Because we are going to see, to do a nezikin, that means we have to evaluate, can it actually make nezek or not? So says the no. Mimala lemata kachashi. We're talking about from up to the bottom. This is what it means to say. Asara, when it's 10 tfachim, mita ilka, pachot asara, purta, nezikin ita, mita leka. He says no. When it has 10 tfachim and you're doing it from up to below, right? From the top to the bottom, in such a case, it has, right, mita. If it's less than 10 tfachim, even if it's less, like this, an inch, it doesn't matter what it is, mamash, anything. The second that it's less than 80 centimeters, it has nizikin, but it does not have mita. I'm going to tell you that you do have nizikin. And any single thing, right, which is going to be damaged, you need that the divar is going to be ra'ui for that type of a nezik. Okay? So says the Gemara, the really bemet we do. He says, that's what we're going to evaluate it. So Tashema, let's try to bring a proof. Imagine a person comes and he hits his servant and he blinds him, or alozno, or in his ear. The chershon, he made him free. So the Eved is going to go out to the cherut. But if it's keneged eno, the keneged was no. If right now he hit him keneged eno, which means he hit the kotel, right? And the kol was actually came and it caused that he cannot see, or keneged was no, meaning he didn't actually hit the eye. He hit the wall, but the way that it happened, it caused that he became blind. Or he hit the wall and he became deaf, right? My tama, what's the reasoning? Because we need umdana, right? Usmamina, which means that we're going to have to do an umdana and say, Be'emet, can that actually cause the person to become blind or to become a cheresh, and therefore he doesn't go out? So obviously, that means there's an umdana nezikin. So says no. Mishum da'amrinan hu de'avit nafsheh. we're going to say that he caused himself to become afraid. Ki the times we learned in the bright time, if you cause your friend to become afraid, meaning you scare your friend, you're going to be patur midinei adam chayav midinei neshama. Ketzad, what's the case? Taka beozno, you blew in his ear. Chershon, you made him cheresh. Patur, you're going to be patur. Achzo, but if you grabbed your friend, the taka beozno chershon, you're going to be chayav, even midinei adam. Why? Because since you did a maaseh in his goof, which means you grabbed him, you're not anymore a grama anymore. It's a maaseh in the goof now. Meaning, you grabbed him and then you blew in his ear, you're going to be chayav. But if you just did it without touching his body, from here, you come, whatever it was that you did, you're going to be patur. Another tribe, another case, another proof. Tashema, chamisha dvarim omdin oto v'notrim lo miyad. There's going to be the chamisha tashlumim, you're going to evaluate and you're going to give it to him immediately. Ripui v'shevet, right? Ripui is the doctor's bills, the shevet unemployment, achitrape. Amdu, if they came and they actually evaluated him, that he's actually meaning that we know it's going to take a long time, right? And meaning we know it's going to take a long time for the doctors and for the, all these things. Right? They're only going to give him according to what they evaluated him. Amdu vivri, if they evaluated him and then he became they're going to give him everything which they evaluated him. Shema, so we learn from here, sheyesh omed lenezikin, that there is omed lenezikin. Okay? So lemeimar gavra kama liksa miyamaka. So to evaluate the person, which is to evaluate, right, how much is he going to, become sick because of this? The kama lo miktzar, and how much he won't fall. Lo kabim bailan, right? We don't have a question. Tivadai amdina, that for sure we're going to come and we're going to do it. Ki kami bailan. So when is the question? Lemeimar chefza, for a chefetz, meaning like this. When we're going to try to come and listen, a person gets hit. We're going to say, listen, if he was hit by the car, and according to this amount of speed, so obviously he could probably be, whatever it is, months, right, without work and without, like doctor's bills and all this. So that 100%, I could understand. There's going to be like an evaluation. But to do with an object, what about an object? Are you going to come and say, you know what, this object, can it accept this type of damage? Not how much damage, how much not damage, right? I always say it about the cars. If you ever see the cars, once upon a time, people had cars for like 20 years, 30 years. Nowadays, cars after 2-3 years, it's already in the garbage. But why? Because it's made out of plastic, right? In the olden days, a car was a car. You hit a car, it would make a dent, right? But it was nowadays it's all plastic. It all falls off. It's all yeah. Nowadays everything's disposable. Yeah, that's the way it is. So Tashema, we're going to come and bring a proof. Shimon Atimni Omer, Shimon Atimni comes and he says, my grof miucha masuleda, right? Ve'edim, just like the grof, which is given to the Eda and to the Edim, which means that they're going to come and to evaluate it. Afkol, so too, it's going to be masul Edim La'edav Le'edim, Shemamina, Yeshom Le'nizikin, Shemamina. So basically, that's how the Gemara actually finishes, that we are going to come and we're going to evaluate also the entire concept of Nizikim, also in objects as well. So we're going to come, we're going to evaluate how much damage, not damage. Meaning that's what we do. We come, we send I don't know how you call it nowadays, a shamai, somebody that comes and he does evaluations. A type of an expert, though, damages and all these things. Evaluator, what do you call it? Inspector, yeah, type of inspector that they come and they're going to look into it. Amar Mor says, Amdu v'ibri. What happens if they came and they evaluated him and he was mavri quicker? So notlin lo kol ma shamdu. So imagine they come and they say, you know what, according to what we hit him, he probably needs unemployment for 10 weeks. After 6 weeks, he was out there working. Yeah. So what happens? So now the guy does have to pay less. Says the Gemara, we give him that which they were there to do. Right? The first time. So they give him the full amount. And this is actually approved to Rava. Rava says, even though he was cured after half a day instead of a full day, the kavid devita and he's doing melacha, we still give him the money of the entire day. Because mina shamayim, they gave him mercy. Meaning, technically speaking, he should have been, for the entire day. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu had mercy on him, and that's why after half a day, he was already out there and he was able to actually work. Okay? Fine. 2 dots. Rakak v'yigbo v'yivid. You remember we were talking about somebody comes and he spits, right? And it actually got him. And then afterwards, somebody that was also taking off the talit. Amar Rav Papa says, Loshanu elabo. That's only going to be if it hits him. Aval b'vigdo, he's not going to be chayav. Okay? Even if he has a beged during the time, whatever it is. Nothing. Okay? So he says, so says the Gemara, but why? At the end of the day, it's not any worse than being mevayesh b'dvarim. right? That means also, even if you're going to be Mvash Bedvarim and you didn't do any Peulah in the goof, you still should be Chayav. If somebody is going to embarrass somebody else with Dvarim, he's patur from anything. It comes out, that means if somebody comes and he only does it to the clothing is like doing a name. If I'm going to come and I'm going to tell a guy to his face, you are a son of a gun, and you are a son of a tzadeket, and you are this and that, yeah?
Me?
Yeah. Son of a tzadeket, and this and this. Yeah? So what happens? Right? Yeah, so what happens? Yeah, so you're going to be patur from klum. Yeah, okay. Hakol lefi hakvodo. Remember, everything goes according to the kavod. Ibai lehu. You see, everything goes according to the kavod. You give a person a little bit of kavod, all of a sudden he's here, he's eating, he's enjoying, he's in a... Yeah, okay. Ibai lehu. He comes and he says, Tanakama lekula kama lekumla. He comes and he says, Tanakama, is he going lekula or lechumla? Right, what does that mean? Because when he comes and he says, everything goes according to the midbayesh. What does that mean? Because if it's a poor person, he doesn't take that much. Or if he's an ashir, you have to give him even more. Because he's rich. He's a very influential person. Now you have to give him more. So Tashema, we're going to try to bring a proof. The Kamar Rabbi Akiva, Tanakama was going Lekula. And therefore, we're actually coming, we're saying, right, that even to be mekel on the mvayesh. So that means we're going even lekula on the person that's embarrassing. Okay, shema mina. That's what we're actually coming and saying. Fine. The next story. So somebody came and he took off the hair covering of a woman. And Rabbi Akiva said they had to pay 400 zuz. Says the Gemara, does it exist that we give zman? The guy went and he said, Rabbi, please give me some time to pay back. Do we do such a thing? Meaning somebody is obligated to pay money. We're going to tell them, no, you know what? Yeah, we'll give you a little bit of time. We do such a thing? So says the Gemara, we don't give zman for chabalot. Meaning if it's going to be a debt, then yes. But chabalot is damages. Damages, we don't give time. So says the Gemara, right? He says, כי לא יבין לזמן לחבלה דחסו לממונה. אבל בושת דלא חסו יבין. I said, no, you're right. If somebody's lacking money, which means somebody hits somebody else. So if it's to do with damages, you're right, we don't give zman. But if it's going to be with busha, embarrassment is not so there we do give zman, right? Because nobody's lacking money. Next, Shemara omed al petach hatzera. So what did he do? He waited until she was by the petach hatzera. Says the Gemara, "V'atani we learned on a bright time already. Kiva tzalalta b'mayim adirim ve'eleta cheres v'yadecha adam rashaycha v'olachmul be'atzmo." What does that mean? He comes and he says, right? That means you went into your yagata liftor et atzmecha, but it didn't help. Just like the cheres is not fitting for anything, meaning that you went and you did all this trouble to try to become patur because you were waiting. You broke a cheres. You went and you had the oil on the floor. She went and she uncovered her hair. You brought a proof, right? You brought a proof that kilu it doesn't help, but it doesn't help anything what you did. So he says, Adam rashai lachol be'atzmo. He says, one second, Amar Rava says, lakashya. He says, what? Be'emet? Do you really think that a person is mutar lachol be'atzmo? And our Mishnah says that you're not allowed to. So Amar Rava lakashya, it's not a question. Kam bechabala, kam bebushet. No. We're talking about chabala, and one is talking about busha, which means Chabbalah that Rabbi Akiva says is boshet, which means only on that Rabbi Akiva says that a person is allowed to be machol be'atzmo, which means a person can embarrass himself. Boshet. He can embarrass himself, but he cannot damage himself. So says the Gemara, one second. But our Mishnah is talking about boshet. Our Mishnah is talking about embarrassment. Tzadik Aleph Amud Bet, 91b. B'Ktanya we learned, HaChovel be'atzmo of Abishen Ulashai Patur. Right, somebody is going to be chovel be'atzmo, even though it's not going to be permitted. It's going to be patur. So it says the Gemara, haki kamaleh. This is what it means to say. And only by a boshet, we're not talking about boshet. The adam rashel levayesh et atzmo. The person is allowed to embarrass himself, right? Et atzmo. Afilu chabala that a person is not allowed to be chovel be'atzmo. Acherim shechavlu bo chayvim. They're going to be chayav. So says the Gemara, en adam rashel chovel be'atzmo. You cannot be chovel be'atzmo. He says, v'atanya we learned in a brayta. Yachol. He says, yachol nishba la'ara be'atzmo. Lo hera, imagine right now a person comes and he swears to do something bad to himself. Now, the end of it, this will be patur. Tamuluma lehera uletiv. Ma tava reshut, afara reshut. Avi nishba la'ara be'atzmo v'lo hera. So Amar Shmuel says, be'ashev be'tanit. Yeah, he comes and he says, what does that mean? he comes and he says, no, that I'm going to sit to do a ta'anit. That's a pshat. If a person comes and says, I'm going to sit to do a ta'anit, that's being chovel b'atzim. But it's something different. See, 1 second. Can I cause you to do a ta'anit? I could do myself a ta'anit, but I cannot do you a ta'anit. So says Ibn, yes. He came and he locked him in a room and he didn't give him food. So if he locks him in a room and he didn't give him food, that's a kavanah that he's making him do a ta'anit. So says Ibn, says, imagine right now, somebody swears, I'm going to hit him and I'm going to take out his brain. Yeah? He's a very graphic guy. Yeah, he's going to, yeah. So he says, if so, we're going to say the what? That also the first case, we're talking about Chabalat Gufo. So says the Gemara, you're right. It's a machloket tanaim. This actually comes out in machloket. Some people say you're allowed to be chovel be'atzmecha, some people say you're not allowed to be. So who's the one that says you're not allowed to? If you're going to tell me it's a Tana that says a Tanya. So maybe there it's only talking about death. So you're right. If somebody's talking about killing someone else, in a chenami. But this Tana is the one that says you're allowed to tear clothing on the mat, and there's no problem with darkei amori. Amar Rabbi Elazar says, if he's going to do too much, he's going to get lashes. Mishum bal tashrit, because of bal tashrit. The more so not in his body. So therefore you see from here that if you're going to be chovel in your own body, there's an isur of bal tashrit. That's where it's a sur. That means if somebody asks you, how do you know you're not allowed to come and do a damage in yourself? Bal tashrit. So says the Gemara, no. When you tear a clothing, you can't fix it. A body, it heals. So maybe you can compare both cases. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan, this is the proof. Like Rabbi Yochanan, he used to call his clothing mechabdai, the ones that respect me. When he used to go through thorns, he used to actually pick up his clothing. Right? Amar, he said, you understand what happened? Basically, he was going through thorns. So when he went through thorns, if he keeps his clothing on the floor, the thorns are going to tear his clothing. The kaddish. That's it. Yeah, we had it in Tanit also. But he says, but what did he do? He picked up his clothing in order that when he goes through, it's going to hit his legs. Why? He says, because the legs, they cure. The clothing, they don't cure. So if once the clothing get torn, gamanu. Yeah?
It was not his clothing.
Yes. Yeah. So he says, Elahai Tanahu. The Tanya was we learned in the Braita. Amar Rabbi Lazara Kapar Berebi. What does it mean in the pasuk that says v'chiper alav, right? Me'asher chatan nafesh. V'chibeze nefesh chet hazeh. What? Sheitzier et atzmo min hayayin. Meaning when a person comes and he does ta'anit, he's suffering that he doesn't have wine. So it's a kal v'chomer. V'lo dvarim kal v'chomer. Uma nazir, just like the nazir, that he lo itzier et atzmo ela min hayayin. He's called a choteh. So when somebody does ta'anit, isn't it all the more so that he's called a choteh? We learned this also in Tanit. You remember that when a person comes, yes, that when a person does not benefit from this world and he's going to do Tanit, he's called a choteh from Nazir. Right? He's called the sinner because he didn't benefit. Okay, you're asking another questions. Yeah. Huh? Yes, a Nazir has to bring a korban because of that. Yes. Okay. No. You're asking questions, but it's not. There's a whole question about that. It's different levels. Yes. Fine. A consistent tiotav. Yeah, if somebody's going to come and he's going to take out a fruit tree. Tani Rav Barchana Kamed Rav. We taught Rav Barchana in front of Rav. We're almost done. Shor ragta netioti katzatzta. Imagine a person comes and he tells his friend, "You killed my shor." Shori ragta. Or netiotai katzatzta. You cut my things. Ve'ata amarta li leorgo, or ata amarta li likotzitzo patur. What happens if he comes and he says, "What are you talking about? You told me to do it." Imagine, I come to you, I say, you killed my shor. Say, yeah, but you told me to. I come, you took down my tree, you told me to. He's going to be patur. So Elmaleh, he comes and he says in Ken, if so, lo shavak he says what? Everyone, does the person actually do? Is he going to be believed? Imagine, you told me to. Well, that's it. You're going to be patur. Elmaleh, he comes and he says, esnie, well, you want me to erase the bright? Right? Elmaleh, he says, no. No, we're only talking about a shore which anyway was going to be killed, or a kitzitz, or a tree that anyway was going to be destroy. So it says, my katan. So what does he have to tell him then? The Elmaleh, he says, no, I wanted to do a mitzvah with it, which means I wanted to be mekayim the mitzvah in itself and to do it. And then all of a sudden, right, you have to pay me because you stole me the mitzvah. The time we learned to the Braita, v'shafach lechisa. It says v'shafach edamo v'chisa v'afar. We're talking about kisui adam. So he says, mi shafach yichaseh u'maaseh v'echad shechad v'kadam chavero v'kisa v'chivo v'muneh yitel asara zuvim. This is the Gemara. If you come and you steal a mitzvah for somebody else, you have to give him 10 zuvim. So Amar Rav comes and he says, Dikla d'tan kaba asul l'miktzeh. Not only that, says the Gemara, so I mean, this is a different question. That means basically we're talking about a case where since anyway he wanted to do the mitzvah, you stole the mitzvah from him, you have to pay him. Now Rav comes and he says, do you know that when you have a tree which has a kav of timanim in the full year, so you have one measurement of timanim, of dates in the full year, you're not allowed to cut it down. So mate, they're going to ask one question, how much in olives? Rova kav, 1/4 of a kav. So he says, why? So he says, Shan is zetim de chashiv. Since zetim are much more chashuv, so you need a much smaller amount, and it's still going to be the same thing. Amar Rabbi Chanina says, lo shach shivchat biri. Right? There was no other reason for the death, right, of his son. Ela de katenata below zimna. But he cut down a tree, a fig tree, before its time. Meaning that if he cuts down, which one? Yes. If somebody cuts down a tree, which is a fruit tree, right? So therefore, midah kineke midah, it's a sur. So he died. He died early. Okay. So Amar Ravina says, "V'imu meule bedamim mutar." However, though, if the price of the tree is more valuable than the actual fruits, you're allowed to cut it down. We also learned in the Braita, I mean, if it's an ilan srak, yeah, if it's in an srak, right? If you're going to include everything, yeah. What does it mean then? Kilo etz ma'achal. So he says, "Lagdim srak lema'achal." We're talking about that it says srak to etz ma'achal, meaning if you already have a choice to take something down, obviously take down an etz srak and not an etz ma'achal. So the bet amud aleph, we're just finishing to the Mishnah. So another 4 lines, right? Or to the 2 dots, right? Yachol, I would have thought say afilu me'ulev damim if it's going to be a lot very expensive. Tamulom arak. Shmuel, aiti le'ariset tamreh, right? 92a on the top. So Shmuel, his aris, brought him to manim. Achili ate it. Taimu tamra dechamna. He tasted wine. Elmaleh, he says, "My, what's going on?" Elmaleh, he said, "Ben gufne kaimetz," between the gifanim. Amar, he said, "Machesh lechamrai kulai." This is what they're taking away so much of the meaning that they didn't have the taste anymore of it didn't have the taste of the fig. Nothing. What's going on over here? So the machar aitile mikorayu. So the one that he took out the shorashim, which means he took out the dekalim because of the nezek that they were causing the grapes. So it comes out that since they were taking from the grapes, that's why it wasn't good anymore. They were taking the nourishment, so it didn't have the taste. Right, he also saw a dekel between the gifanim. He said, take it out. The gifanim, they could purchase the dekalim, but the dekalim cannot come and purchase the gifanim, which means from the wine, you cannot purchase the dekalim. From the perot of the dekel, they're not worth anything. So that's why you have to take out one and not the other. You're going to take out the cheaper one in order that it doesn't cause any more damage.